Hello everybody, I'm here once again with our Chief Investment Officer Gary Reynolds, and I managed to get hold of some other members of the investment team because we've got some news here that Courtiers has received 2 more Refinitiv Lipper Fund Awards for the Total Return Growth Fund. Gary, what's the significance of these awards to you?
Well, I think you don't do this job to pick up the awards. That's not why you do it. But obviously, if they come along, you're pleased to get them. And there are a few awards in the industry which have a very high level of recognition. Lipper being one of them. You know, it used to be the old Reuters Lipper, now Refinitiv Lipper Awards. And they are based on quite demanding algorithms. So anybody that wins one of their awards generally has to perform exceptionally well on an absolute and risk-adjusted basis. And so I'm absolutely delighted for the team that we've been recognised in 2022, which is great news, Leo.
Fantastic. Gary, this isn't the first Lipper Fund Award that we've received, is it? What does all this say about Courtiers as an organisation and the investment process and strategies?
Well, the investment process for the multi-asset funds has been running since 2007. Obviously, it's evolved over the last 15 years. But bearing in mind that these awards are given to funds that are demonstrating a consistency of good returns with managed risk, which is exactly what we seek to achieve. It's a nice endorsement of the way in which we do things, and it's great to pick them up. And I think what it gives you is an industry recognition that within your peer group that you've done a very, very good job. In other words, for us, it means we've done exactly what we set out to do. So that's obviously terrific.
And so the reason that you keep winning these, your strategies are proving over time to be effective. Would that be right?
Yeah. And the nice thing is these are over 10 and 5 years. So if you're going to pick up awards, you want to pick up the long-term ones, because that means you've done it over a very, very long period. So yeah, I'm delighted. If there was one I'd be wanting to win every year, Leo, it would be the 10-year one, because you know that's not a flash in the dark, is it? It's a consistency. So I'm really, really delighted that we got that award.
That's fantastic news to you, to the team, to Courtiers, and I'm delighted to be informing clients that this is actually the case. Now I'd like, if I may, to hop across to a somewhat familiar face, James Timpson, our Deputy Fund Manager, who delivers our monthly market updates. James, congratulations first of all. I'd like to understand, what is your day-to-day role like and your work that contributes to this kind of continued success?
Yeah, thanks very much, Leo. Obviously, it's great to pick up this award, and as Gary said, it's a measure of long-term performance, and the majority of our clients are long-term investors. So it's great to receive this recognition. As for day-to-day work, one of the most important things we do is ensure that each of those multi-asset funds is taking the right amount of risk. So we have fairly advanced risk analysis using mean variance analysis. And so one of the things I do is ensure from day to day that our funds are not exceeding the levels of risk which we have promised to our clients that we will maintain. Every time we consider a new investment, we see what impact that will have on the fund as a whole. So if we were to invest in something new, you want to make sure that it's not going to drastically increase the amount of beta or exposure to the market that the fund is taking on. We'll also see what effect it has on stress tests. Is the investment likely to be severely impacted by major market movements? And also within the team, we have our own sectors which we look at. So for me, that's communication services. So right now I'm looking at the annual view of ITV. One of the other things I'm also in charge of is trading within the funds. So if we do buy a new stock, for instance, I will place the order in our order management system and send it to one of our brokers who will execute that trade on the stock market for us. So it's always busy here, but in a good way.
James, thank you for that additional insight. Katie, product specialist Katie Crook, presented at our recent client seminars, so she may be a familiar face. Katie, thanks for joining us also. What do these awards mean to you, and how does your work contribute to this success?
I suppose the awards is a combination of our group team effort. We're very team orientated. You know, we wouldn't get there with one person's input, it's all of us together. But I suppose it's a reminder of we don't do anything investment wise because we always keep it in the forefront of our mind that it's the client's money that we're investing. It's not our own. So if we wouldn't be happy to put our own money in that, why would we subject the client's money to that? So it's quite nice. My role sits between our team and our advisory team. So we're always making sure that, you know, we're looking for what those clients want. What are they going to question if we put their money in this position? Will they come back and ask us about that? So I think my role's slightly more dynamic compared to the analysts, in the sense that, you know, the clients are there to answer to, and if we put something in the fund that's going to be queried, the advisors will come back and ask us about that. But in the same sense, it's quite nice and, you know, to keep on top of what those investors are actually asking for. So what do they want to see? How can we evolve our process? We're not static. We're never, you know, the same thing we did 100 years ago is not going to work, although our process remains the same. Sometimes that evolves to, you know, what people want to see in the fund, how we can move forward, which we've seen with all the ESG stuff. So we've updated that into a formalised process in the last 12 months. But it's always responding to how they would like their money invested and what we can do to move forward and actually meet their needs and wants. Because as James said, we're long-term investors. We never want that position where somebody's pensions, you know, they want to be able to spend that when they're in their retirement and enjoy that wealth they've built up. So we want to make sure we can provide that, you know, not just today, but 10 years down the line and their grandchildren as well. We're all about, you know, taking in a whole family and looking how we can build that wealth for generations to come so they can keep maintaining that and keep passing it on.
It sounds to me like your role involves, you know, helping to drive the initiatives and the strategies forward, keep your eyes open on the future, but also make sure that the investment team has got the door open to the advisors who are ultimately looking after the client. So that ties everything together nicely and, like you say, keeps it focused in tune with the whole reason we do this.
Yeah, absolutely. At the end of the day, they're our clients and we want to serve them in the best way possible. So we can have some good fun looking at a mixture of investments, but at the end of the day, it's their money that we're using to put into those funds. So we want to treat that in the right way.
Well, somebody's recognising it, that's for sure, and the whole reason that we're here today. So to you, Katie, and to James and to Gary, thank you very much for your time and explaining a bit more about the investment team. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching. As always, if you have any questions, do let us know and we'll get those to the right people. Thank you very much.